As I said, guys, we're right back here at the Nexon Arena for games number 2. That doesn't really make any sense. For set number 2 between SOS and aLive, our second of 5 best of 3s tonight. Here's our Protoss player, SOS.
$, oh $, the Zealot with the money. Taking all that. He's got money, man. What do you want?
Yeah. Just like our money, except he's S money.
Yeah, exactly. He's got that money from multiple overseas tournaments, 2-time BlizzCon champion, and of course that winner takes all IEM, taking home 100 grand. That is the really big tournament. Obviously, it's prestigious to win 2 BlizzCons, but the one you think about with SOS in terms of being the $, oh $, is that he won the only big winner takes all tournament that's ever existed in StarCraft 2. aLive on the rise right now. 4-6 score, but again, we always have to put the asterisk for aLive that he did have that forfeit loss against Patience, might have won that series. And also, he had a great performance at Super Tournament. That's where the hype really comes from. But it does seem to be that his worst matchup is TVP, and we'll see if he can defeat SOS. No doubt SOS has some specific strategies planned, and Protoss seems to be favored in this matchup right now in the current meta.
Terran's still struggling to figure out all those early timings and obviously the Adept Phoenix kind of composition. And I think SOS will play more towards those cards, whereas Patience, I feel like, you know, we see that sometimes with the weaker players that don't have as good of results, they kind of just like do their own thing or like do something different from what's being really successful for a lot of the other players that are on top. But this is our map list: Overgrowth, Daybreak, and Newkirk Precinct.
Yeah, you know, two-player maps to start things off. The short rush distance on Overgrowth could be disastrous for aLive if SOS wants to do something sneaky. Be super aggressive. We've seen it a lot so far already. But guys, let's go into game number 1, SOS versus aLive.
SOS, 김유진. aLive, 한희석.
We are on Overgrowth. Better Fly, Jin Air, sponsoring this tournament. Thank you very much. I'll be on the top right. It is SOS, the Protoss player.
His opponent in blue, the bottom left, it is aLive. The player's been playing StarCraft 2 for such a long time, so experienced, but has had his best results by far in domestic leagues recently. You know, he did win an IPL, defeating several Koreans in that tournament, including Nesty in his run. I believe, if I remember correctly, beat Squirtle in that finals, but you know, back then we had a lot more Koreans traveling, so to win an overseas event was more meaningful in a lot of ways. And we used to have even sometimes seeds to Korea tournaments coming out of MLGs and things like that. But some people argue that was his best result. Some people argue his Super Tournament result recently, where he beat such top tier players, was his best. It's hard to say, but he looks on form right now after a lull between the IPL win and his performance right now. And Heart of the Swarm specifically, he was very weak. Made a big comeback in Legacy, and he definitely does seem to be at his strongest in terms of Legacy of the Void right now, this month even.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. And really the story is, can he figure out this matchup, TVP, that, as you were saying, lots of Terrans having a bunch of trouble with. And it looks like this probe is actually going to sneak on by, and he's sticking around. So should be the pylon into the Stargate proxy. We're seeing this all the time in this matchup, man.
Yep. And aLive doesn't see it. This was actually the talk of the makeup room earlier, with Maru and Patience specifically discussing it more than anybody else. The frustration, and I didn't want to say it in the broadcast, but now that it's over, I remember Patience specifically saying, like, I think Newkirk's the best map for it, and as it turned out.
Yeah.
So SOS is going to do this again, and we're going to see if aLive can scout this. He did get the scout off in the main base, so has the idea that there's a pylon missing. He checks the left side. Will he go up onto this high ground? Yes, he is cued to see it. He will, in fact, scout that Stargate. It's just unfortunate the previous set, Innovation did not on Newkirk.
Yeah, and you can see the follow-up, the difference in builds between the Terran players. Innovation playing the same way all 3 games. I don't think that he can kill that pylon with the Adept coming on up. That SCV should actually die. And
yeah, Adept.
You could see the difference here, the 3 barracks follow-up. He wants to get out as many Marines as possible, and there's a bunker on the way. So this is kind of the response I wanted to see out of Innovation that we are seeing out of aLive.
Yeah, aLive likes the more barracks-oriented play. He likes the early bio, that large army, which obviously Innovation couldn't have done with the opening he chose, but he could have done the Cyclone, right? Like, aLive is just playing this a lot safer. Yeah, look at all these Marines. This first Adept is going to get shut down. He doesn't even lose the bunker building SCB. Looks like he might with the target here. Void Ray follow-up. This is my kind of strategy.
Oh, yeah, man. We had some Choya/Wolf builds in Challenge.
Yeah, I haven't seen those VODs yet, but sounds like the place we'd see it. Look at this. It's a lot tougher to just target down Marines with an Adept and an Oracle when there's this many, and there's a bunker that you have to operate around. Good control by SOS, though, actually getting out with the Oracle and the Adept.
And you can see the difference in economies, too. I mean, SOS up to 35 workers alive, sitting on 26, and his tech is in kind of an awkward spot because I don't think he even has a factory right now. Just 3 barracks and stim. So basically, just Marines is what he's going to be operating on here. And that is the first Void Ray, a second one on the way.
Void Ray is obviously going to be very powerful in terms of stacking damage because you know, the Adepts have to fan, they can't stand on top of each other. The Void Ray can add some extra from the air. Just because of how StarCraft 2 units work. They add a lot of extra damage to Marines, they outrange Marines. But when Stim is done, aLive can absolutely fight this straight up. And he's even going to move across the map right now. This is something that SOS is going to identify. It's actually going to make that forward gateway. He makes the 3rd Nexus that we're going to see empty. He only has the 39 probes right now and has stopped production for a long time. He does add a few more now, as I say that though, 2 additional on the production tab.
He's going to be spotted right now, but it depends on really when does he want to stim, because again, this is only Marines, no medevacs, he can't heal up his units, and so it's going to be limited to the amount of times he can stim. It's still a ton of damage coming on in.
Void Ray on the top of the army here, doing a lot of extra. Here comes the Oracle, probes off the line here, doesn't have any overcharge, but the second Void Ray does push this back. There's still 14 Marines on the map, but this is actually an expensive exchange for aLive. There's 3rd Void Ray out now. aLive is probably shocked to see the Voids, right? He hasn't had any scouting information of this so far this game, so he's probably like, oh, okay, that's weird. He also sees this base is empty. Starts a factory, probably going to sort of starport out ASAP, needs the medevacs. He also might even consider investing in a Viking. This is fast warp with the gateway here. He's got a few Voids nearby, but I think this is going to get shut down. Needs another probe now for this forward warp in. At least gets the warp off.
That's pretty key. You know, it's definitely going to delay this push with the Void Rays, buy him some time to get out more and more Marines. 2 more barracks on the way, and just teching up to get those medevacs. So going heavy on the infantry this game is aLive. Here come the 3 Void Rays coming on in as kind of a harass force, maybe on the hunt for some add-ons, going to find a reactor and a supply depot now.
This is so unusual, by the way. I just want everyone to know this is like not a thing.
I can't remember the last time I saw 3 Void Rays come into the main of the Terran and harass.
Yeah, I mean, he kills a reactor, which takes a long time to build. It's a lot less Marines aLive's going to have for what was initially going to be a defensive, a timing attack, but is no longer. 2 sentries going to get sniped here. He's not paying attention, no force fields. Nice targeting, targets the further one first to make sure he can secure both. Find some Adepts here, 2 off the same stim, and we'll get both. So nice pickoffs here for the Blue Terran as see if he can send those Marines across the map. He's got another stim ready. 3 Voids with this. There's a turret set up, a bunker. Theoretical aLive should be able to hold this. He's doing a lot of damage back at home, too.
This is still a very scary Protoss army coming on in. Focuses down that bunker first. The SCV pull absolutely necessary to deal with the Adepts on the ground.
The force fields are so good, the Marines can't get underneath the Void Rays. The Void Rays are doing a lot of extra damage here, but now that they fade and the SCVs push those sentries back, the attack will end here for SOS. He has 3 Void Rays and 12 Adepts. That's his entire army, but it's a very strong one. aLive needs to set back another turret, I'd say. Maybe too late here as he's building it now. He's going to have the factory to help spot.
Yeah. And you gotta wonder, you know, the position of aLive. Like, the early game, he holds off the Protoss aggression, but he's so far behind because he could never squeak out of third base. He's always been on the defensive. Getting that supply depot is actually really big because the Adepts can't be blocked from the main. Now the entire army of the Terran has to come into the main while the Void Rays go into the natural.
Yep, he's going to start picking off SCVs, as you can see here already in the main base. You know, so many killed. This may just be game over. This Widowmine drop stopped by a photon cannon. The second one being queued up here.
Probably going to be a bit late, but will force a big pull there. The Widowmine only able to get one probe, and this should be enough Adepts to focus this down. Oh, just barely not. Gonna get some extra kills, 4 more, and
aLive is hanging on by a thread in this game. I mean, he really is.
A very thin thread, man.
His best hope, I feel, excuse me, it's in my throat. Best hope is to crush SOS with one big attack and just win the game off of it. He doesn't have time to defend any harassment anymore. He's gonna have to just wipe this base out, kill the entire army, and win the game off of that push, you know, the momentum that that gives him. Very unlikely he can make this work, but taking a third base just feels out of the question. And the longer this game goes on, obviously, the money that SOS will obtain from this third base is going to stack up.
Yeah. I mean, he's already on 7 gateways for a really long time. A lot of that bio also is in the orange and yellow, which you guys can't really see. So he needs to heal them up, but 2 of his 3 medevacs are in the main dropping right now. This could get some damage, and it doesn't look like SOS knows about this, so the overcharge comes on in.
Oh, he pulls probes to attack. Oh, God, that was not what he wanted. That was horrible to watch. This is actually doing way more damage than it should have. Didn't target the pylon, could have actually canceled the warp end, but was microing down here with this army, looking like he caught the Oracle, actually, considering that I don't see it anymore, and this army is tagged. I think that's what happened. No glaives throughout this entire time. He's finally going to have that. This is the big power spike for the army that's almost purely adept at this point.
Yeah, that basically means that aLive will have a very tough time just fighting this straight up, especially he's only adding in Widowmines now. He's gone up to 4, actually, pretty fast, making 2 at a time.
He's going to have the upgrade advantage in terms of attack defense. It's going to be 1-1 versus just the +1 of attack for SOS. Look at this photon cannon setup. SOS is easily able to identify all I need to do with my massively better economy is survive. That's why he's committed so much money into these photon cannons. He has the extra money to do so. I think aLive needs to start thinking about doing that attack soon, or at least moving his main base to his third, because he's mined out. He's mined out in the main. He's got very few minerals left there. And SOS is just happily sitting back on a third base. See Liberators coming out here as the +1 armor is started for SOS.
Interesting to see what those 8 Marines can do. It looks like a little bit more than that. They're going to focus down a robotics facility. They'll cut down. Yeah, it's going to cut down on the Immortal production, I suppose.
The only anti-air he has is these Voids, which are very slow, and we're just unfortunately not really in the right place at the right time there. So a nice pick there for aLive. He's going to commit to the attack now. He has 6 medevacs, so he's got a lot of healing power with this. We do see that orbital moving over to the third. Scan goes down. He sees the photon cannons.
I love the army of the Protoss. 42 Adepts, 2 Void Rays, an Oracle, and a Sentry. That's what we're fighting against here, boys.
Look at this angle, though, for aLive.
Coming on in.
aLive's got a decent angle here. He's going to push past the force field. He's got an arc. The Widowmines want to get in. If the Widowmines get in, he can absolutely win this fight. He's already winning it. He's got the arc. He's got the upgrade advantage. This is what he needs. A lot of the Adepts were not at home here. This could end up being a base trade situation.
That I think aLive should win, after all. I mean, he can float those orbitals, float them to somewhere else. He's going to kill half the army of the Protoss right from the get-go.
Yeah, he's going to kill the, critically, the Void Rays, which are going to be what is able to kill floating buildings. And now the Liberators can't be dealt with, can't be killed. DT's coming out here. He's got that third base
6
landed.
of them. So 6 DTs.
Well, actually, it's going to land now. But he can get a scan off of that. Looks like the DTs don't show themselves.
He's trying to block that. He can't land it.
This one actually isn't scanning.
Needs to scan.
Okay, well he saved it at least for the time being. Gonna be tough to repair it. It's burning. This one over here is still in the air. So many dying here. He needs to get that landed though.
Yeah, still 6 DTs on the map. None of them have gone down.
Well, the thing is, I mean, he just has such a large bioforce, he just kind of ignore the DTs until he can force a fight over here, then land it. They can't deny the land anymore. There's just too many Liberators
the
here.
Shades?
I mean, it could temporarily deny. This army could just be lifted.
Yeah.
turret does get taken out here, so nice targeting to try to prevent the detection here from SOS, trying to be crafty. But this base is actually going to mine now. The main base is not mining of SOS, really. It's almost completely mined out. So
just making a turret, I mean, there's no way that those DTs get any damage done now. The second orbital is going to be healed. And as you were talking about, the army for aLive is just so much bigger. I think that aLive handled this very, very well, this base trade situation.
I mean, he just knew when to strike. He had his 1-1 upgrades already. He had a nice arc. I think SOS is going to have to type out here. I mean, he doesn't have any way. GG. aLive takes game number 1. He had a tough early game there. The Void Rays keeping him on 2 bases. SOS committed a lot to the static defense, but he didn't have the defense set up. He didn't prevent the concave of aLive. Force fields were decent, but not good enough. And also, at the same time, a lot of his army was missing. Even if he had the army there to defend, it wouldn't have been able to attack because of the arc of aLive. Most of those units would have just been sitting behind, so it didn't hurt SOS, quote-unquote, that the army was not there unless he tried to go for a flank. He killed a lot of SCVs, but aLive just did way more.
You have to wonder about those Void Rays. I mean, it's definitely the SOS flavor, right? He just does things slightly different from other Protoss players at his level. So yeah, it's in Void Rays instead of going into the Adept Phoenix kind of style. I like the bit of harass they were able to do and keep aLive on 2 bases for a very long time. But then once aLive hit that critical mass of infantry, they really couldn't do anything against that many Widow Mines, that many just Marines in an arc even. So didn't really help him out in the final engagement, and aLive does take that win. Let's jump into game number 2 right now and see if aLive can take the 2-0 or will SOS come back. Here we are on Daybreak for the first time tonight. Up in the top right, it is SOS.
He's very stressed. His opponent, down to the bottom right. I did it again. Bottom left, in blue, it's aLive. I swear I know my left and right. The more I defend myself, the less people believe me. But,
well, I see your iPad is currently in sleep mode, so definitely couldn't have been Googling it right now.
Yeah.
So you get a pass. It's okay.
I wonder if Google actually has, when you search for certain things, it just doesn't actually display websites, it just displays like Google's thing if you search.
Probably. How do you tell the difference between left and right?
Yeah, it's probably like a thing for that. If you type like 4 space X space 5, it'll tell you 20. 4 times 5 is 20, but I mean, I suppose it might be a thing. Any Google employees are listening and it's not a thing, like, you should probably make that a thing. Some people don't know. I know, of course, but
I wonder if there are actually people that just don't know. There has to be. Like, areas of the world where... But I don't know, there's still, like, you still have to be able to just spatially tell the difference, even if you don't receive, like, formal training or education, right?
Yeah. I mean, everyone
right? Except you, apparently, Wolf.
I know, I do know it. I promise. Well, okay. SOS gonna come out here for the scout. We have seen this. Well, initially
the quote-unquote scout,
and he is also hiding his scout. But we have seen a lot of proxies on this map, specifically from Terrans, especially at TVT. But it is going to be the proxy, as you mentioned. And the more I look at that path, I didn't really scout where the barracks would have likely been anyways, just hiding it. SOS, take my energy and take the money. He even moves the pin there. Look at that.
That was pretty sick micro.
Next level sign. I don't even know where that is. I'm looking around to see who's holding it. Well, that was great.
It's down right now, but I can see the guy. He's got a hat on. Stargate coming down.
No kidding, right? I mean, this is the way it is. This is SOS.
Oh, really? You can kind of cast
makes the Twilight Council. I'm like, what?
You can cast the early game of this matchup kind of with your eyes closed at this point. I mean, Patience kind of made it interesting with the Robo first in game 1 against, who did he play? Innovation?
Yeah.
Well, already forgot who it was.
If you proxy, though, we always see this is going to be a Stargate almost every time. SOS would be the guy to do something different, but in this meta right now, why would you? So it's going to be the Oracle to start things off. There is a late scout coming out for aLive. He doesn't even check the main, and now he's going to scout at 100%. You saw the probe.
Yeah.
Doesn't even check the main. Doesn't even think to check the main. Doesn't even consider to check the main. He goes immediately to check for proxies, and he's going to find it. He's successful.
It's just so common nowadays.
It's like a standard build. It's not even a cheese anymore. It's just, and it will still potentially work. I mean, just because it's scout doesn't mean you win the game. You have to respond.
Yeah, it's just a strong opening, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of become the standard opening. And it doesn't necessarily have to be proxied all the time. That makes it stronger. The Terran is stuck in his base for so long that he can't kill the Stargate, especially on these bigger two-player maps. So here comes the Oracle. I mean, obviously, aLive is very prepared for this. He's got a Widowmine in the main base in the mineral line, but SOS is taking it very slowly, very carefully. Doesn't even send the Oracle in just yet. He just wants to deny a bunch of mining from the natural for as long as possible and force out units like the Viking, like a bunch of Widowmines, stuff like that. He knows that aLive is prepared.
He's going to the Void Ray follow-up once again. It looks like he's going to keep a second probe nearby just to make sure they can keep this powered. And also you might add to that gateway with it. Oh, no, he's going to take a third base. Well, this is still the same, basically, but the way it was going, I thought he was going to send it all the way around. So going to be that third Nexus coming up with this. And we'll see if he can do the same amount of damage and then defend the counterattack. The thing that really broke his back in the last game is not being able to set up a defense, getting that arc. Ooh, good Widowmine placement. Should get the connect. Ooh, just barely. Great reaction time by SOS. He does avoid this. It's going to look for the prismatic alignment on this dropship.
A little bit slow on that one, but
saves the
should
pylon.
get away. Yeah, that's really the most important thing. But aLive does get the scout of it, so he knows that potential for a slow warp in there is possible. You can see that it kind of forces SOS to keep his units in one position. And a dropship, medevac now. Oh, looks like the Oracle gets picked off by that very nicely placed other Widowmine.
He needs to get this Viking. It's so important. Even just one Viking can harass this and ruin the setup. And now he's going to overextend into a Widowmine. Okay, SOS is really, despite that one Widowmine shot, he's been really on point with his reaction time on these. He's so far away from his proxy, though. He's going to lose the power here. Yeah. There's bunkers set up. It's time to transition.
He wasn't making a second, or rather a third Void Ray this time, so he does at least unpower that. And it's funny how aLive is like, well, one bunker was enough, so I'm going to make two bunkers. Kind of easier to defend on this map to your fronts. This, unfortunately, will get picked off for aLive.
So much easier to kite the Void Ray than it is to kite other units because of how it flies over. It doesn't actually have to go in a weird, funky, roundabout way. It's not a Dota 2 Void Ray. He just flies right. It's just really responsive and flies back over. Just get the second one. So two Void Rays remain. He can actually split them to shut down drops while he transitions into Glaives. He's getting a Photon Cannon again. I believe that's probably in the main base. And Liberator is heading over towards said main base currently. Even another Widowmine here, which will help spot prisms that could have potentially been coming out. There's one on the way right now. So aLive has good Widowmine coverage. And the only thing he's not doing is taking a third CC, but everything else is just upgrading where we're at. Photon Cannon finishes just in time to hit this Liberator and knock 60 hit points off. And an instant pro pull.
This is a really nice position because the pylon can't hit him right now with an overcharge. That's going to deny about half mining from the main for a bit. And he doesn't keep it around, as he knows probably stalkers are on the way.
Or that Void Ray.
Yeah, so that's what's on the way.
He gets away, he saves it. This pylon that was damaged earlier will finally be finished off here. See you later. Gonna supply block SOS very temporarily. Glaive's almost done. And this third base has been mining for a long time. The question is, will SOS actually commit to an attack? Looks like he's just going to use the Warp Prism instead to harass the main base. Keep the SCV count low. aLive is committing to a third CC this time. He's not just going to lift his main base. And that's something he hasn't scouted yet. So SOS is trying to hit when this attack comes. When aLive moves across the map, which he's seen with the Watchtower, he wants to hit at the same time to draw him back. And looks like this is two ships passing the mic briefly. aLive realizes the Warp Prism is coming, though. He's going to turn on it. SOS needs to realize this and drop those Adepts if he wants to commit. Okay, the Viking here as well now. He's not even going to be able to phase this. Just going to be the 4. Liberator sieges up. Yeah, this is denying a lot of mining time, actually. He's going to need more than just one Liberator to stop this. Send his entire army back here in the main base.
Nice chunk of it. We'll be able to clean up these Adepts. Doesn't look like SOS really able to get any damage on the map at the same time, as aLive hasn't moved out that third base just yet.
These are just so annoying, and it's not even just because they're Adepts. You could have done it with any unit, just walking them away. He's trying to sandwich this army in the middle. He's got one Void Ray patrolling, so if there's a big lift, he can start shutting that down. Look at this. Big sandwich coming over. Void Ray pulled away here. One Stalker eats Soda Mine shot. There's 3 more of those where that came from, but he's got an Observer. Okay, actually decent shots here from the Widow Mines, but they will all be cleaned up. Oh no, he lost the Observer, so they will not.
And aLive does save the majority of this army, does bring it back. But as you were saying, I mean, SOS has been mining from this third base for ages, it seems like. And aLive is only taking his third right now. Colossi on the way. That's going to be the transition for SOS.
Just SOS things.
He's going against a very heavy Marine composition. And, you know, the Widow Mines are going to do essentially nothing against the Colossi with the range, unless you can somehow drop them on the Colossi. We haven't seen that in a while.
It's been a while, indeed. This one Adept is going to scout this base out. The Prism being here is the more scary thing. One Void Ray, not enough here, but 2 overcharges going down. It's going to buy a lot of time here. Needs to get that Protoss army into the main base. aLive is just going to really start hitting this production hard right now. There's a Widow Mine in here, too. He targets down that Observer, so that's another issue. 2 Widow Mines. The first hit is good. The second one, even better. Harassier now at the natural.
This is so cute. Coming in at the perfect timing, right when everything of SOS went into the main. 12 probes in total go down just from that small maneuver. You're not going to hit this third base, so you might as well go where he's weak. Very, very cute maneuver there by aLive. Problem is that his third base hasn't been mining just yet.
It's going to be a satisfying game to watch for Terran, who's been struggling against Protoss right now, as, you know, aLive is kind of shutting down everything SOS is doing at every turn. He's multitasking well, he's hitting multiple points, and now this is going to be a very expensive harass that got very little done. Several Adepts killed here. And he's going to scan over here. Even though there's Photon Cannons, once again, there's a lot of medevacs, and he's just going to break through. Protoss army is coming over. He may be able to save this Nexus, but he's losing a lot of mining time.
Well, hold that thought, as the Nexus is going to disappear. Yeah, he's going to target it down, and he's even sticking around to fight.
Yeah, when he sees the Colossus here, he will boost away.
There's like no anti-air.
None. And this is something that aLive identified in the previous set. He's identified here. No Dark Shrine this time for any sort of backup harassment. aLive is winning this game in little bite-sized chunks right now. Even going to try to harass here. Now that Void Ray is done, despite the fact that there's 3 sentries and 1 Stalker on the ground, there's virtually no anti-air on the map, so these drops rule the sky.
Yeah, this is the map that I was expecting SOS to play Phoenix Adept, because as the Terran, you have so many places to drop and counterattack and out-multitask the Protoss player. You can drop into the main, you can run into the third. He set up the triple cannon thing, but when you're going up against 5 medevacs worth of infantry, that's not going to stop it at all, and the 3 Stalkers are kind of just there as like an ornament or something. They do literally nothing. And I mean, aLive is just picking him. Yeah, they really do. And aLive is just picking him apart at every turn and is really outplaying SOS.
That one Void Ray is not enough, man. It gets blown up here. SOS sending his army back. It's so late. Just gonna get into a good position back behind what used to be a mineral line, and he can lift up and get out. Gonna look for the Colossus snipe here. Does not get it. Actually, looks like he was probably targeting something else, but gets away, and looks like the Prism was killed back at home.
Yeah,
and third Nexus is rebuilt, but it's so late. He's built a Viking army to deal with the Colossi, so he has the counter. Or actually only has 4, but he's got 5 and 6 on the way. I thought he had more than that, but still, he's building towards that.
Only 6 Stalkers on the ground, and no blink. So he's getting that right now, though. And I mean, yeah, as I was saying, if there were Phoenixes, you stop the drops in the main, you can keep more of your army at the third, you can build up more of a death ball, and, you know, the Phoenix Adept is a lot more mobile to deal with this very spread out Daybreak map. So that was the composition I would have liked to have seen, but as you said, Colossi, just SOS things, and maybe he's going to make it work. I'm doubtful, to say the least, at this point.
I'm skeptical, too. You know, eventually, once this Viking count gets good enough for aLive to branch out this direction, he's probably going to get advanced ballistics. and we'll have Liberators to help zone the army out. Going to commit here. This is the risky one. There's a lot of Stalkers this time, but he's still just going to commit anyways. Looking for the Viking shots here. Gets the Vikings way too close. This was a poor attempt of a drop here for aLive. He loses several units and just didn't have the information as to where the Protoss army was at that moment in time. As I wonder if aLive will now move that third CC, or rather his main CC, into a fourth base location. Getting a Ghost Academy, setting up for EMPs. More and more Vikings come out. He's going to need them after losing several in that last exchange. And with that, I mean, SOS stays alive. He's getting his +2 attack now. He's stabilized quite a bit. There's the main base moving over to the fourth base location. And if you look at the production tab, you can just see that aLive is massing up bio. He has the comp he wants. He's working towards it. The Ghost coming out now. He has a decent amount of Vikings.
11 Vikings.
Yeah.
6 Widow Mines. Kind of an interesting addition. Will definitely help out against the shade of all the Adepts that eventually attack the army. But the Ghost's going to make even quicker work of the Adepts.
So this small Bioforce over here that killed the Stargate will be cleaned up. Small win here for SOS. Yeah. SOS is going to probably have to take a fourth base soon, you know? As aLive's now moved into this fourth base economy, he's going to have to do the same.
Yeah. It's just such a scary thing for the Protoss, you know? Like, you're spreading yourself even thinner. It looks like he wants to take the bottom right location too, not even the middle one. So for me, that's like ultra scary. I took a look at the third base of SOS. There's no cannons. There's a bunch of pylons. The Mothership Core isn't even there. There weren't any units. So if aLive had like fake Doom dropped into the main and then just sent like 2 dropships to the third, he could have wiped out all the mining and actually probably won the game there. Obviously, he doesn't have the information that I do with this Observer PC, but
sure, definitely
could have been a nice move. Maybe that's the next evolution of aLive that's coming later in the year. But
could be. You know, +2 is going to finish, but the ship weapons are done. We do have the +2 armor, which is a big issue actually for those Vikings for SOS, because that gets applied with every Viking rocket because they do fire twice. So that's double that application. So getting the +1 definitely mitigates some of that shielding that Colossi are going to have. aLive is just really, his focal point this entire game has been the main base. He's going to set up to force the Protoss army away and then do a big Doom drop into the main. Looks like SOS is not taking the bait on this, he's backing off. Actually coming to the third base though, leaving the natural open. He can get an arc here in this choke point. He can absolutely do this. Look at this.
Look at the Vikings. Look at right where they go. The perfect position. He's waiting for them. Nice position on the Stalkers, forcing the EMP out. SOS can't go up the ramp right now with this Colossi. Those Ghosts
huge EMPs too.
Yeah, really, really nice EMPs. There's the shade on.
Look at this, 1 shot, 2 shots on the third, the second, the third goes down, and this is over in an instant. That is it. GG, aLive is going to take this series.
Yeah, 1 outmaneuvering, that's going to do it. aLive, the 2-0 victory over SOS and shutting down the Protoss player.
It's easy to move between the natural and the third base when you have your natural controlled, because then you control the choke point the Terran approaches from. He has to take the longer path to your third base, so if he attacks that location, you have time to respond and get over there. But if you go to your third base directly and allow the Terran to go up that ramp, then get the concave, especially with that high ground area where the Vikings were that you were mentioning, there's just no chance. He has the perfect EMPs, he just sacrifices the Ghosts, drops the EMPs down, 1 shot, 1 shot, 1 shot, 3 Colossi are dead from the Vikings.
Yeah.
And you watch the supply of SOS go from max to 100 in less than 3 seconds.
It was pretty fun for all the Terran players to watch that one. Very satisfying, as you were saying. Daybreak was aLive's first map pick, and that's why we got it there in game number 2. Overgrowth was actually SOS's first map pick, so that's the way that works. And you can see why aLive really liked that map. He gets 3 series wins in a row now, so he's wanted. He gets that achievement, which is really nice. And the other thing about this is another Jin Air player goes down once again. I mean, SOS and Maru, they're on one of the only Kespa teams left over, and they're both sitting at 1-3, 1-4. We're gonna have to see how Maru does later on in the series later on tonight, because some Jin Air woes definitely happening here in this series.
Definitely so. Our next matchup is going to be the old KT Protoss Stats and Zest facing off against each other, but we're going to take a short break. Before we get into that,